We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next 30 minutes. US President Biden speaks with Israeli PM Netanyahu, discusses Israeli military's objectives in Gaza and importance of securing the release of all remaining hostages. India's swift action after attack on merchant ship sends ships to rescue vessel with 20 Indians. On to details now. As Israel continues its operation to neutralize terror group Hamas, Israeli forces claim that the current focus of its strikes is Hamas underground tunnels and that it will further expand its operation in southern Gaza in the next few days. Meanwhile, the Israeli military reported that 8 soldiers had been killed in Gaza on Sunday, bringing combat losses there to 154. Also, Israel's defense ministry has released a video on Saturday showing Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant and Emergency Minister Benny Gantz visiting troops deployed in northern Gaza. Israel is battling Hamas terrorists in its fight against terrorism. This comes as Israel's Army Chief of Staff also visited troops inside Gaza. As per the White House, US President Joe Biden spoke with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Saturday to discuss the situation in Israel and Gaza. Biden said he did not ask Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for a ceasefire in a long call the two leaders had on Saturday. While protests continued in Israel's Tel Aviv demanding release of hostages held by terror group Hamas, the protesters gathered at Tel Aviv's Hostages Square. The demonstrations were only a short walk apart, and many protesters took part in two protests as they shared similar sentiments of the safe release of hostages. Also, the Israeli Defense Forces have said that in the early hours on Sunday, a number of launchers were identified crossing from Lebanon towards various areas in northern Israel, to which the IDF engaged in retaliatory fire and struck the sources of fire. Throughout Saturday, IDF artillery struck a number of areas in Lebanon. IDF fighter jets struck a military command center belonging to the Hezbollah terrorist organization. Due to the launches fired from Lebanon towards Manara, an IDF soldier in reserves was moderately injured from the shrapnel. And as per U.S. Central Command, the United States shot down 4 drones headed towards a U.S. destroyer in the southern Red Sea that were launched from Houthi-controlled areas of Yemen on Saturday. The CENTCOM said in a post on X that these attacks represent the 14th and 15th attacks on commercial shipping by the Houthis since October 17th. The Iran-aligned Houthis, who controlled much of Yemen, have disrupted world trade for weeks with attacks on ships passing through the Bab al-Mandab Strait at the southern of the Red Sea in what they say is a response to Israel's operation against terror group Hamas in Gaza. Meanwhile, Iran has rejected U.S. accusations of involvement in Houthi attacks on vessels in Red Sea. Iran's deputy foreign minister on Saturday dismissed the accusations of providing the Yemeni rebel group with weapons and tactical intelligence, saying the Houthis were acting on their own.
We frankly told the US side that the Yemen-based Houthis made the decision according to their own position. We have never ordered them to do anything, neither we will order them to stop taking action. For us, regional security is very important. We are not seeking to expand the scope of war. The solution to the problem is not to establish a so-called coalition in the Red Sea, but to stop the bloodshed of women, children and civilians in the Gaza Strip and the West Bank.
And Russia-Ukraine continue its counter-offensives against each other. The latest battle reports say that both the countries in the move have targeted each other's weapon depots and command posts. Ukraine claimed its army shattered Russian command posts and other targets over the past 24 hours. This comes after Russia launched 14 airstrikes in Ukraine on Saturday. However, the Russia said it repulsed several attacks by the Ukrainian army in the directions eastern Ukraine, southeastern Ukraine and Kherson concern in southern Ukraine. Moreover, Russia also launched several offensives to destroy Ukrainian tanks, armored vehicles, self-propelled artilleries and other equipment in the areas. Well, in a separate development in Russia, former TV journalist Yekaterina Dontsova, who announced that she would go against President Vladimir Putin, was disqualified on Saturday as a candidate for Russia's next presidential election. Members of the Central Electoral Commission voted unanimously to reject her candidacy, citing numerous violations in the papers she had submitted in support of her bid. Dontsova had applied to the Electoral Commission to be registered as a candidate just 3 days earlier. The Russian politician said she would challenge the decision of the Supreme Court, calling it unjustified and undemocratic. And Boris Nadezhdin, an opposition politician who has been critical of Vladimir Putin and his special military operation in Ukraine, was put forward as presidential candidate on by the centre-right Civic Initiative Party. The party said he planned to register with the Electoral Commission on December 25th. Putin's best-known opponent, Alexei Navalny, is serving prison sentences totaling more than 30 years, and his supporters say they do not even know where he is after they were told he had been moved from his previous penal colony earlier this month. And a massive blast at a Chinese-funded nickel processing plant in eastern Indonesia was reported during the early hours of Sunday. According to the officials, 13 people were killed and 39 others injured were rushed to the hospital for immediate medical care. Reportedly, the first explosion triggered several other explosions because there were many oxygen cylinders used for welding and cutting furnace components for the repair. Further details are awaited as investigations into the incident are underway. And Taiwan's defense ministry said on Sunday that over the previous 24 hours, it had detected 8 Chinese fighter jets crossing over the median line of the Taiwan Strait. The ministry has also reported a Chinese balloon in the strait. It said the balloon was spotted after crossing the median line late on Saturday morning. In February, the United States also shot down what it said was a Chinese surveillance balloon. Taiwan has repeatedly complained of Chinese military activity around the island over the past 4 years. And a merchant ship, MV Chem Plateau, was reportedly attacked by a suspected drone strike on aerial platform in the Arabian Sea. The ship caught fire after the attack. The Indian Coast Guard ship, ICGS Vikram, deployed on patrol of the Indian Exclusive Economic Zone, rescued the merchant vessel. The vessel was carrying chemicals from Saudi Arabia's Jubail port to Mangalore in India. After the rescue by Indian Coast Guard, the vessel has started moving towards Indian city of Mumbai and will reach the coast by early hours of 25th December. All crew members are safe, which includes around 20 Indians. Indian Coast Guard is escorting the ship during its passage. And India's External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, has expressed grief over the passing of Ambassador Hans Dannenberg of the Dominican Republic. He has posted on social media platform X, and I quote him, "Deeply grieved to learn of the passing away of Ambassador Hans Dannenberg of the Dominican Republic. He was an extraordinary friend of India and of so many of us personally. His tenure as the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps in New Delhi is fondly remembered by those who served then. He personally built Dominican Republic's relationship with India and took it to great political and economic heights. Our condolences to his family," unquote. And on a day of high spirits and patriotic fervour, Indian Army's Lieutenant General Johnson P. Matthew flagged off a grand car rally in the national capital, New Delhi, today. Organised by JSW NDA, the event is a tribute to Operation Badli and in commemoration of the 75th anniversary of the National Defence Academy's establishment. The rally covered a remarkable distance of 1,800 kilometres over 6 gruelling days, traversing through 6 key cities and culminating at the iconic National Defence Academy in Pune.
Car rally, which has been organized from Dehradun to Pune, that is NDA Khadakwasla, signifies Operation Badli. We are commemorating 75 years of existence of NDA. So this car rally signifies the movement of NDA from JSW to Pune. We have conducted outreach activities where we are trying to make the nation aware of NDA and especially the youth so that we are able to motivate them to join the armed forces.
And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. The Czech Republic mourned the victims of a shooting at Charles University in capital Prague, which left 14 people dead. Czech national flags flew at half-mast at official and public institutions. At noon, church bells rang across the country and people observed a minute of silence in memory of the victims of the worst mass shooting in the country's history. Australia's weather forecast on Sunday issued heatwave alerts for Queensland state and neighbouring Northern Territory, warning temperatures in some regions could hit around 45 degrees Celsius. In Western Australia, more than 20 bushfires were burning. State authorities have warned of a high fire danger for many parts of Western Australia. On the other hand, the weather in Hong Kong became more chilly as residents faced a combination of cold temperatures and occasional showers. Urban areas recorded temperatures as low as 6 degrees Celsius. Families gathered outside Santa Claus's home in Finland's Rovaniemi on Saturday as he set out from the Arctic Circle on his journey to deliver Christmas gifts to children all over the world. Before boarding his sleigh, Santa called for people to focus on children's well-being and to live in peace together after a stormy year. And around 100 actors and musicians are staging a performance recreating the birth of Jesus Christ in a cave in Slovenia. Visitors can watch the story told in 16 scenes strung along 5 kilometers underground in Pistočna cave. And Argentina's President Javier Milei has issued a decree calling for extraordinary sessions to speed up reforms, reinstate the tax on salaries abolished by the previous government, and modernize the electoral process. Milei, who took office in early December, sent the decree to the legislative body late on Friday for bills to be discussed from December 26th to January 31st. Congress is in recess, with sessions next scheduled for March. Earlier this week, Milei proposed more than 300 measures to deregulate the South American country's economy, including eliminating price controls and bureaucracy to help promote industrial activity. Argentina is mired in a prolonged economic crisis with triple-digit inflation, negative reserves, a rapidly depreciating peso currency, and over 40% of the population living in poverty. And a local court in El Salvador has ordered the arrest of former President Alfredo Cristiani for the alleged cover-up of the 1981 El Mozote massacre during the Central American country's civil war that lasted for 12 years. In the document issued by a court in San Francisco, Gotera on Friday, Cristiani is named as one of 10 people who promoted a general amnesty law that was approved in 1993 and exonerates those accused of war crimes. Calling the El Mozote massacre a crime against humanity, the document orders the capture of the former president and 4 other defendants who later were part of the country's Congress. During the El Mozote massacre, some 1,000 peasants died in a 4-day counterinsurgency military operation. And an Alabama woman with a rare congenital anomaly that results in her having 2 uteri has given birth to healthy twin girls. Kelsey Hatcher and her husband Caleb welcomed Roxy Layla and her sister Rebel Lakin at a gap of 1 day at the University of Alabama at Birmingham Hospital. Hatcher has a rare double uterus and was pregnant with a baby on each side, a rare pregnancy known as a dicavitary pregnancy that has a 1 in a million chance of occurring. Hatcher's pregnancy was considered high risk and she was induced at 39 weeks. After a combined 20 hours of labor, the 2 baby girls were born. And still to come on this edition of DD India Live. In Congo elections, incumbent President Felix Tshisekedi leads, though opposition rejects provisional election results. And the Wrestling Federation of India instructed to suspend all its activities till further orders. Stay with us to know more.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts. We demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Kuran, and moving on. Opposition candidates in the Democratic Republic of Congo have rejected provisional election results showing incumbent President Felix Tshisekedi with a comfortable lead and called for a rerun. The elections in the Central African country were marred by delays and serious logistical challenges last Wednesday. Our correspondent Chris Okamringa has more from Kinshasa.
In the Democratic Republic of Congo started releasing provisional results of the country's presidential elections on Friday. Vote tallies of Congolese citizens living in Belgium, Canada, France, South Africa and the United States showed incumbent President Felix Tshisekedi with a clear lead. But the votes represent a small proportion of the number of registered voters in the DRC. The provisional results came a day after voting was extended in many polling stations in the DRC due to delays in delivering voting kits and faulty machines. 5 opposition candidates have rejected the results and called for fresh polls organized by a new electoral commission. The head of the DRC's electoral commission, Denis Kadima, has dismissed the criticism from the opposition. The candidates are now planning to hold a march in Kinshasa to protest the outcome of the elections. Disputed polls have triggered unrest in the DRC in the past. International and local observers have noted a lack of confidence in the voting process, but called on Congolese citizens to remain calm. The DRC is a mineral-rich country that has had only one peaceful transfer of power since it gained independence from Belgium in 1960. The Electoral Commission is expected to release the whole provisional results on December 31st. Chris Ochamringa in Kinshasa for DD India.
And moving on, Republican presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy pledged to pardon all peaceful protesters that took part in the events of January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol in 2021. At the Turning Point Action Conference, Ramaswamy said the attack looks not just like an intelligence failure, but an intentional intelligence failure. According to a polling and analysis website, Ramaswamy has the support of 4% of Republican primary voters, while Trump is in the lead with roughly 63% support. And Chilean President Gabriel Boric said there wouldn't be any more constitutional referendums during his term after 2 attempts to replace the country's current constitution failed. President Gabriel Boric said during a televised address that the country got polarized, adding that his government would focus on more urgent matters. With 99.65% of ballot boxes tallied, Chileans rejected a new text that sought to replace the current constitution that dates back to the Augusto Pinochet dictatorship. Many Chileans have voiced mistrust and disenchantment with the process after years of polarization and political infighting. And numerous migrants continue to cross the U.S.-Mexico border into Texas as the Christmas holidays weekend got underway on Saturday. Video shows hundreds of migrants crossing through barbed wire on the U.S. side of the Rio Grande River and then being detained by U.S. National Guard troops. Mexico's President Andrés Manuel López Obrador announced on Friday that his government will strengthen its efforts to control immigration as it seeks to assist the United States in dealing with an unprecedented surge of migrants attempting to cross its borders. The announcement comes after he spoke with U.S. President Joe Biden, during which the two leaders agreed that more border enforcement is necessary as the surge of migrants disrupts cross-border commerce. Moreover, Venezuelan migrants crossing through northern Mexico's Coahuila state on Saturday said Mexican authorities were harassing them. Various migrants in the border town of Piedras Negras recalled police, immigration officers and army were asking for money and physically harassing them. On the other side of the Rio Grande River, which serves as a natural border, migrants waited behind barbed wire for U.S. Border Patrol agents to process them. And counter-terror cooperation between France and Niger ends as last batch of French troops deployed to junta-ruled Niger finally left the country. The withdrawal comes after a military junta in Niger seized power in July and made France's military withdrawal one of their key demands. In response, France has announced the closure of its diplomatic mission in Niger for an indefinite period. The French soldiers were deployed as a form of military cooperation to help Niger fight a decade-long extremist insurgency. However, the withdrawal has triggered fears of weakening the fight against an insurgency not just in Niger, but also in the wider Sahel region. And V. Muralidharan, the Minister of State for External Affairs of India, participated in a community event in Fujairah, UAE, where he aimed to address and evaluate the diverse challenges encountered by the Indian diaspora. The gathering brought to the forefront various concerns expressed by the community, including passport tatkal issues, implementation of Aadhaar cards for non-resident Indians, among others. In his address, the Indian minister touched upon the significance of recent legislative changes, citing them as essential steps towards achieving the vision of a developed India. The minister had earlier visited the Indian consulate at Dubai on his two-day trip to the UAE and conducted a comprehensive review of all consular issues.
During this visit of UAE, last 2 days I have been interacting with the representatives of the Indian community and also with the officials in the consulate. Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji has been always putting across the point that the government of India is there for the welfare of every Indian, wherever he stays. So in that context, making the life of every Indian community member in UAE, making their life better, the welfare of those Indian members of the diaspora, the community's efforts are being supplemented by the government, and the consulate has been making all efforts to see that those issues are solved.
And moving on, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has applauded Kisan drones or agricultural drones, which provide an effective and efficient technique for the application of liquid fertilizers. Responding to Union Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandaviya's post on the social media platform X, the Prime Minister said that the advancement of Kisan drones is leading to an increase in farmers' earnings and improving their quality of life. Dr. Mandaviya in his post said that agri-drone technology is a real breakthrough in modernizing and transforming farming practices in the country. He described the use of drones by farmers as a drone moment for the agricultural sector of India, heralding a drone movement in the country. And Vice President of India Jagdeep Dhankhar, along with Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Adityanath Yogi, attended the convocation ceremony of Gautam Buddha University at Kasna village today. The Vice President participated as the chief guest, whereas Uttar Pradesh CM presided over the program. At the ceremony, 7,914 students were awarded with postgraduate and graduate degrees. And flood water started receding in the southern Indian state of Tamil Nadu. Drone footage showed restored flow of water in river, but waterlogging in residential areas still persist. Over 150,000 acres of farmlands, including horticulture crops, have been destroyed in several districts across the state. India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman informed that the central government has chalked a comprehensive support mechanism for the relief operations. Also, the relief and rescue operation continues. Mi-17 V5 and ALH Dhruv of the Indian Air Force have airdropped over 11 tons of relief materials in 12 different places. And now an update on a new surge being recorded in terms of COVID-19 cases. About 656 COVID cases have been reported in the last 24 hours in India. The total active cases of COVID in the country are now more than 3,700. More cases of COVID are coming in from the Indian states of Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Maharashtra and Goa. It has been advised by the government to avoid going to crowded places, wearing a mask and to keep washing hands. Well, Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra is being undertaken across the country with the aim to attain saturation of flagship schemes of the Indian government through ensuring that the benefits of these schemes reach all targeted beneficiaries in a time-bound manner. The Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra reached the Deva city in the Indian state of Madhya Pradesh. The beneficiaries of the Ujjwala Yojana were demonstrated the benefits of the scheme, and some women were also given certificates of Ujjwala 2.0 Yojana. People gathered on stage to take the Sankalp pledge of making India a developed country by the year 2047. And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. Organic revolution in the northeastern India is building a sustainable future. Over 170,000 hectares of land in India's northeastern region now flourishes under organic farming. More than 180,000 farmers have been benefited by this. The number of farmers producer organizations have also touched 379, and 7 organic brands have also formed from the northeast region, which are selling their products worldwide. As the whole nation awaits the inauguration of the Lord Ram Temple in Indian city of Ayodhya, the auspicious moment for the consecration has been officially scheduled for 22nd of January 2024 at noon. The auspicious timing, known as Abhijit Muhurat, has been carefully chosen to mark this historic event. The consecration ceremony is set to commence at 12:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time, precisely during the auspicious Abhijit Muhurat, and is expected to last for a symbolic 84 seconds. Christmas festivities have started early in the northeastern state of Mizoram. Streets and markets across the capital city of Aizawl are flooded with revelers enjoying holiday season with friends and family members. And on to business news now. India's Central Board of Direct Taxes on Saturday notified income tax return forms 1 and 4. In a social media post, the Income Tax Department announced that the board has notified ITR forms 1 and 4. The post also highlighted that the other ITR forms will be released in the due course. The announcement on the social media platform was made soon after a notification on Friday was released to this effect. The forms are meant for the assessment year 2024-25. This means assessees can use these forms to file their tax returns for financial year 2023-24. Well, you're watching DD India News Hour. Time now for some sports news. The Wrestling Federation of India has been instructed to suspend all its activities till further orders on Sunday. The suspension comes after newly elected President Sanjay Singh announced that under 15 and under 20 nationals for wrestling will take place in the northern state of Uttar Pradesh before the end of this year. And for more on this, we have DD India's Narayan Singh joining us. Well, Narayan, the Wrestling Federation of India has been instructed to suspend all its activities. Can you give us the details?
If we talk about this news, this update, as per the latest news, the Wrestling Federation of India has been just instructed to stop all the day-to-day activities. And if you take a look, on 21st December, Sanjay Singh has been elected as the president of the Wrestling Federation of India. And on that day only, he announced for the nationals of the under 15 and under 20 wrestling tournaments, and before the end of this year. And if you take a look, according to the constitution of the Wrestling Federation of India, it's the responsibility of the executive committee of the Wrestling Federation of India to conduct such event, and also according to the rules of the world body, that is United World Wrestling, to select the venues also. In that case, it seems that the General Secretary of the Wrestling Federation of India is not involved on all the decision-making things. And if you take a look, according to the rules of the WFI, it has to be communicated to the players 15 days earlier ahead of any tournament. And also, if you take a look for even the emergency meeting of the executive committee, at least 7 days notice should be given, and with a quorum of 1/3 representation. And that's why all the rules and regulations and the constitution of the Wrestling Federation of India India seems to be sidelined here, and according to the constitution of the Wrestling Federation of India, if you take many rules have been here sidelined, and that's why it has been instructed to keep all the activities out. There will be no activities for the further notice of if you talk about the Wrestling Federation of India. And also if you take a look, it seems that the present elected members of the Wrestling Federation of India seems to be just we can say they're overpowered by the previous office bearer. So that's why the reason for the suspension of the activities of the Wrestling Federation of India.
Right, Narayan, thank you so much for those details. And for now, that's all for this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Kurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.